What is up, guys? Thank you. Today's conversation you are really going to enjoy because it's with somebody since I've been in the business. I recognize as one of the most influential men in real estate. He's a former CEO of Keller Williams, now the president of Ojo Labs, and somebody I consider a friend. And I just wanted to say thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Chris Heller.
Thank you.
How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Good. So these conversations I love, especially in this situation, because there's so much going on in the real estate world, right? We've been constricted for a few years. We've seen interest rates going up and down. I really want to get your take on what you see now and moving forward in the market.
I could probably answer that from a lot of different perspectives. I mean, we went over these crazy, frenzied times during the pandemic where activity and people buying all over the place and agents just doing everything they could to keep up. And then we had a year last year where everything came crashing back down to earth, and agents were going, what happened? What happened to my business? Now we're coming in a new year. It's not going to be significantly different or better than last year. It will be better. There will be more homes sell, probably 15% more homes sell this year than we saw last year. So there'll be more opportunities. But I think agents, if they learned anything last year, they learned what they need to be doing that they weren't doing before to make sure that this year is a much better year for themselves.
Right. So I agree. I've seen it somewhere between 15 and 18% is what we keep seeing for this coming year. So what do you think agents, again, it goes back to, I always say it goes back to basics, but for you, what do you see agents needing to do going forward to really capture market share and really show their value in the market to build their business?
Yeah, that is one of the keys, right? They have to show value. Consumers have more options today for buying and selling than they've ever had before. More different platforms, different offers being made to them. So as agents, it's more important than ever that they're able to demonstrate value. And value can be demonstrated a lot of different ways. One of the ways is the communication and how they're communicating and who they're communicating with and how many people they're communicating with. As an agent right now, one of the things I'd tell anyone I was talking to is you need to be increasing the activities, meaning the amount of people that you connect with, and then those people that you connect with, make sure you're doing something to constantly be deepening those connections. Because the deeper the connection is, the more likely you'll remember me or think of me when it's time for you to do something, or you have a real estate question or a real estate need. So that's at a high level. Then you're probably wondering, and anyone listening is probably wondering, okay, well, yeah, Chris, but what specifically? It could be a number of things. One thing is, again, looking at who the people that you're connecting with, and then where are their sources of more people that you could be connecting with, and then what are you going to do to communicate with them? How are you going to communicate? What are you going to do that's going to be of value to the people that you are communicating with?
That's interesting. We saw a stat, I think it was just at the start of this year, it said 78% of home sellers chose the first agent that they met with or /interviewed. And what, again, I mean, obviously we're Harvist, but it goes back to the whole top of mind subject, but it also goes back to how often, how consistent are we to the things that you just talked about, right? Bringing value, being in front of people, but the consistency to it is really what's showing up.
Yeah, it's consistency is key in almost everything, but it's and everyone knows that, right? Like no one's going to go, oh, that's a new concept, being consistent. But why? The question is why aren't agents consistent in their activities? And it's because they haven't put processes behind everything. They don't have systems for everything. Too much of it is dependent on them pushing a button or them doing it. And when they're doing other things and they have their life going on and another business going on, those things can fall through the cracks. So, a platform or a system that does those things for them, the things that agents aren't necessarily great at, or isn't the highest and best use of their time. I mean, look at the highest and best use of my time as an agent is the amount of time I'm in front of a buyer or a seller having a conversation, not the amount of time I'm designing campaigns or working on files or any other task that needs to be done but isn't. I shouldn't be the one doing it.
That's so true. When you say that, I think back to the days of people. They think just moving paper around the desk or sending something is busy, right? And busy feels like work, but the truth is it's not. So with Harvist, right, we have the ability to remove the copywriting, remove the design, remove all of those factors. So why do you think that is beneficial, or why has that been beneficial to you?
Well, early on in my career, I was doing what you guys do, but I was doing it, or I was paying kids to do it. Like I was paying kids to stuff envelopes with me. I was paying kids to leave things on the doorsteps because I can only hit so many doors. And all that was very, very labor intensive and time intensive. So, the key to what Harvist is designed is it makes it really easy to do all the things that need to be done, to make sure they get done in a professional way, in an effective way, and in a timely way, but without taking my time and energy to do it. And anything that I can do that moves my forward business, that connects me to more potential sellers and or buyers, and doesn't take my time and energy that I can spend on other high revenue producing activities is a win.
Right. That's really what we want to do. I say this all the time. We're not just a platform that we just want somebody to come in and take it. We want to partner with you. We are there is an exclusivity to it, right? Each APN only goes to one single agent, but also what we want to be able to do is, like we did with your team, is partner with you, understand what the angle is that you went with, right? And so, for instance, for you guys, us figuring out exactly the person or exactly the avatar we're going after, the seller that is going to be very likely to work with me, and we can literally pinpointed that. And then we build the campaign around that. So so tell me what is important to you and what you see there.
I think there are a couple things. Number one is it's seller focused. And my very first day in real estate, and this was a long time ago, right? No internet, no cell phones, no training, but the broker said two things to me. Told me two things that were invaluable. I didn't know them at the time. But the first thing he said is, you got to list to last. You got to focus on listings. You got to control the inventory. To which I promptly said, "What's a listing?" Like I didn't know anything about real estate. But his point was focus on listings. And then the second thing he said is never take a listing. Or he said the only thing worse than not having one is taking one that doesn't sell. So make sure that you understand the values, that you educate the consumer the right way, and that the property is priced right and shows right and is accessible and all those things. My point is that's always been the most important thing, is focusing on listings, right? That hasn't changed. There's things happening today that could cause that to be even more important, right? Between what's likely to happen with commissions, what's likely to happen with buyer representation. Any agent out there, if they aren't having the thought, how can I get more listings, or how can I focus on listings more effectively? They're not awake. And one way to do that, very cost effectively, is with what you guys are doing. And look at, I could do, and my team could do everything that you guys are doing, but we couldn't do it for the cost that you guys are doing that. It would cost us more money to do those things and do those things individually in time, energy, and money than what we're paying Harvist for. And that's not always the case. Like, there's a lot of products and services that as agents we get pitched. Tons, right? And most of the time it's a decision between, okay, I'm not going to do it, so yeah, I'll pay someone to do it. Or, yeah, it's probably a little better than what I could do, so I'll do that. But rarely is there a product or a service where I go, huh, that's a better value than what I could do it for. Yeah, and when it is, it's like a no-brainer.
Right.
So I think those are the things that make it really key. It's seller focused, and it's a really cost-effective way to do it. Now that being said, I'll add one more thing, because I know how agents think. There are no silver bullets, magic pills, secret weapons, right? Nothing happens overnight. If an agent starts, going after out-of-area owners or a geographic farm, they may get lucky and find someone that was just the right time, right? You hit them just when they were like the day after they were having a discussion at dinner about selling. But that's luck if that happens. This is the long game, and agents need to understand that the key to what makes consistency so important is the impact it has over time, and that's where no one should look at this or anything else as that silver bullet. It's doing something that is going to be paying dividends over time.
Yeah, I mean it's really important, and we see that now. All the campaigns we've run, well over 15,000 APNs just in the LA County market now, and as we're expanding out. The interesting part that I see to go with what you're saying is, we tell people all the time, listen, there's a minimum threshold to really start to get some traction, and in this case, time is one of those thresholds. It's not just the APN number, but it's also the time. And if you're planning, I had a conversation with an agent the other day, and I said, look, do you plan on being in this business 3 years from now? She said, absolutely. And I said, well, then you have nothing to worry about. Because again, we talk about return on your investment. It's another thing that I think a lot of agents, they get into this business and they're still not running a business. They don't have a P&L. They're not looking at marketing cost. They think it's a cost. Oh, I'm actually paying something. Well, I ask them, what is the return on your investment of what you're paying for now? Because again, if you don't measure that, how do you really know if it's working or not?
Yeah.
And so for us, we want, again, to be partnered with you, but we also want you to run a business. And for you, it's funny because you come in, you're very transactional, we need to get these things. But how important is it to running a business, but also knowing when I'm putting money out, I'm getting money back in return?
I don't know how you run any business without doing that. I've run some of the biggest businesses in our industry, and I can promise you, whether it's an individual agent's business, whether it's a brokerage, whether it's the largest real estate company in the world, or the second largest mortgage company in the world, ROI is how we measure success. All right, it is especially for large companies that that have shareholders and have a fiduciary duty to return a good or provide a good return to their shareholders. Agents need to be better at measuring what they're spending money on, and not just money, their time. And to do that, they have to have a concept of what their time is worth. And there's a lot of ways to do that. One is simply look at your income or your income goals and divide by the number of hours that you work in a year and say, okay, that's what your hourly time is worth. So if your hourly value is $300 or $3,000, whatever it is, and you're doing something that is a $20 an hour job, you're losing money, right? Now, if you don't do your job and you go to the beach or go play golf and just pay people to do all those things, then it's an expense. Right. But any time that you can get something done at a price that's lower than what your time is worth, that's an investment that unless something goes wrong, will have a positive ROI.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the mic drop. And because what Harvist does and what we do is remove that, depending on your market, $12 an hour, $15 an hour, $20 an hour job off of your plate, so that you can do the $3,000 an hour job, which is your true job, right?
Yeah.
Producing, being in front of, in this case, hopefully more sellers, right? Which will attract more buyers and get you there. So, man, that was wonderful. I can't thank you enough. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Thanks, guys.